नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वॉर बुक सीरीज। आज हम इस पॉडकास्ट में बात करने वाले हैं विथ अ मुक्ति बाहिनी फाइटर जिन्होंने सेक्टर 9 एरिया में फाइट किए अगेंस्ट द पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस एंड हैड टेकन पार्ट इन द लिबरेशन ऑफ खुलना एंड सातखीरा। आज हम बात करेंगे विथ फ्रीडम फाइटर अक्कू चौधरी जिन्होंने ना ही सिर्फ बांग्लादेश की आजादी के लड़ाई में हिस्सा लिया था बट इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द मेन ट्रस्टी मेंबर्स ऑफ द बांग्लादेश लिबरेशन वॉर म्यूजियम। हाँ, यहाँ पे मैं खुद गया था एंड ही हैज कंट्रीब्यूटेड एक्सटेंसिवली टू द एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ दिस लिबरेशन वॉर म्यूजियम इन द हार्ट ऑफ ढाका सिटी। और उन्होंने 1990s में had taken part in the excavation of human remains from the mass graves inside ढाका। आपको ये याद रखना चाहिए कि पाकिस्तानी फौज ने बांग्लादेश में बहुत सारे मास किलिंग्स किए थे जो इतिहास और नेचर के वजह से has been forgotten, and this is one of the men who took part in excavating these human remains and bringing them out for the world to see and presenting them in the Bangladesh Liberation War Museum. By a profession, he was from the corporate world, लेकिन बांग्लादेश की आजादी के लड़ाई उनके साथ हमेशा और हमेशा के लिए रहे हैं since the end of the war. From an extremely cultural background, with a family being involved in the world of art, music, and also in the corporate world, Mr. Akku Chowdhury unfortunately suffers from the trauma of the 1971 war. He had also suffered as a refugee and he had to come to India to take shelter, but later उन्होंने जंग में हिस्सा लेने का भी सोच लिया था and he took part in the fight, being trained as a Mukti Bahini fighter in West Bengal. Unfortunately, he suffers from the trauma, लेकिन I have been fortunate to make him talk in our show ताकि हम ऐसे एक आदमी के बारे में और उनके contributions in the war के बारे में जान सके। This is also a man who has extensively worked alongside the Indian Armed Forces and was very close to the former GOC in C of the Eastern Command of the Indian Army, Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora. तो आइए, let's directly know about him from the man himself. Let's welcome Mukti Joddha, freedom fighter Akku Chowdhury. Today we have you, Akku Chowdhury sir, in this show, and I'm really glad that you have finally decided to join with me and talk about your own experiences in the 71 war. Actually, I do know that you're from Chittagong, so how was your first life in Chittagong before the war had actually started? And how did you see the environment brewing up before the war?
Okay. Well, I think I was born in Dhaka because my parents, my father was an engineer, he was a government servant. At that time he was under Pakistan. He died in Pakistan under the regime of Pakistan anyway. So around 52 I was born in Dhaka in the famous Mitford Hospital. In fact, I had gone to see that because it's the river and said, oh wow, my mother was so lucky to have a child, with the river flowing and the nice maternity spaces. For Bangladesh, for those days, Pakistan. So that must have been amazing. Anyway, so I was born there. Then I guess at what age, I don't know. We moved to Chittagong because my father was shifted there, and I'm originally from Chittagong. My ancestors are from there, and I'm proud to be Chadgaya. And as we say, we are Chadgaya Nauzawan, Medit Fulyo Loha. So we are, even if we fall on the ground, we are still steel, iron. We are arrogant. So that's how we are. Anyway, childhood was in Chittagong. Bits and pieces I remember. And then I think by the time I was 9 or 10, we had moved to Dhaka and we lived in the Azimpur colony where most government servants lived those days. And I have flashbacks of those days, growing up as a naughty kid, obviously, and life was great. I had lots of friends, but my family were a little bit more aloof and elitist because they had their own way and being Chowdhuries and whatnot. And my mother was very involved with music things, especially Rabindra Sangeet. And that had an impact on me in the sense that those days, in the Pakistan era, Rabindra Sangeet was a no-no because, it's a Hinduana thing. And that is a no-no. So surprisingly, Chadgayas are a little very conservative, especially the Muslim Chadgayas. And my father was more so, but somehow it was very interestingly, he revolted against his the mullah attitude of the family. He became an engineer, in fact studied in Kolkata, and he started life as an engineer in Kolkata. And that was a deal he had to make with my grandfather, with his father, that either he becomes typically joins the madrasa, but my father wanted to join the regular, do the whatever they used to call, matric and all this thing. And in fact, my father did become a mulvi, past all that, but after that he wanted to become not a way. He was more interested in English, Shakespeare, and all this thing. But my grandfather said, okay, if you want to go into the mainstream, then you have to be an engineer. And my father had no choice but did become an engineer. Of course, I bet he hated it, but that's what he lived as an engineer, and he died as an engineer. And so that brought me to Dhaka and had a wonderful childhood. And that's where, I came into across, like as I was saying, my mother was very much into the Rabindra Sangeet and Sangeet, and those sort of things used to happen in our house in the Azimpur colony. And in the 50s and 60s, that was sort of, in the 60s rather, that's when we were in the Azimpur, 63, 62 onward, for about 4-5 years. And it was a time when Pakistanis were trying to, choke our throat that, hey, that nothing to do with the Hinduani, you be good Muslims. And my father let my mother do her things, and then the Ayub regime came, and with the Monem Khan, they choked on the, Rabindra Sangeet going to be banned and whatnot. And so that's the realization I came to me that, hey, this whole, the birth of Pakistan, India, after the British left us, that they divided this whole country, the Indian continental. So these realizations for a young man to come that, that Pakistan was wrong, that the whole division was wrong, it sort of bothered me. But on that issue of what my mother was trying to preach me, to become a good Bengali, listen to Rabindra Sangeet and whatnot, and I just couldn't get myself into it. And from the childhood, I had a problem learning Bengali. And so it's sort of, and because I would say I had learning disability probably, and I didn't like schools and whatnot. So it took a long time before I could get myself into schools, proper schools, study, and all the time I had to study in English medium school. And so these things, and then of all the thing, I ended up going to Adamji school, which was run by the Pakistan militaries, and 90% kids were West Pakistanis. And I was accepted. I didn't feel that because of my look and all that, and the way I spoke and whatnot. I guess I was not in the hit list, but I could see that there is a thing that the Pakistanis always thought they were more superior, and the Bengalis were, quote unquote, the dark appreciating, that was so obvious. And I knew that, hey, this whole thing is never going to work. And, whenever there was movement, especially being a generation of the 60s, I'm very fortunate because that's when everything is happening globally. And, we got in, I wasn't stuck in that small shell of growing up in a Bengali household cottage. I rather had the opportunity to read the English magazines, the newspapers, to go to the British Council, to go to the USIS and all these things. So understand what is happening world over, and the peace movement and the anti-Vietnam War movement. So that was the funniest thing. I was really, a peace-loving guy. I wanted peace, going around with the peace signs and things like that.
Right.
But then when the movements on the streets came, I was out on the streets
I mean,
fighting.
the
Also,
movement of, the
yeah, I was not political.
Political.
I was not political. I didn't belong to any, because my mother would never allow that, and that sort of thing. So whenever even I went to these meetings, my family didn't even know. I had to tell lies. I just
conducted by the Awami League, right, for the freedom movement.
Yeah, those days, though, it's not. You see, the thing is that there were also other parties. There were a lot of leftist things, and because you can imagine at the age of 16, 17, 15, the youth are revolutionary. You cannot help but deny that. So the people like Che Guevara and the Fidel Castro, Ho Chi Minh, they were the ones who were really drawing our attention. Mine. That I said, whoa, if they can do it, someday we shall. We shall overcome. And that is how I got involved in that sort of mindset. So it wasn't not necessarily that I belonged to any parties, but the romanticizing of that, we shall, we shall revolt, and but then when the real thing happened in 1971, whoa, it just came as not just as a big surprise. We knew that they hated us, but the way that they will do this massacre is just and that's why I still have a big problem dealing with the Pakistanis. In the school, school friends are very solid and strong, and I'm studying from class 5 to class 10, all that time with these kids, and suddenly, we split up. And even now, I don't have during the COVID time, they tried to get us together, the old schools, but I could, relate to them for maybe a month or so, but then after that, no way. It just I can't. The trauma of 71. That is one thing. Those of us who have been through that, through the struggle and and seen what they did. It's not. Many people say, hey, all the Pakistanis didn't do it, but to me the question is, when they were going on for 9 months, they said, we didn't know. How can you not know in this world? They said that, there was not enough information. It's impossible. That cannot be so. Everyone was telling. And so it's pathetic that, things like that, even today, that there is denial. See, when we go through this,
About this
world over, globally. Because it's even in Bangladesh. When you look at Bangladesh, there's still, people. When I came back to Bangladesh in the 80s, after going away for about 10, 11 years, I was so surprised that it was, I think, Ershad's era, and I was surprised to see that a lot of people were sort of hesitant about introducing themselves as Mukti Joddha. So it's sort of, it's sort of like, and this word of the Gondogol, I can understand why it had happened and why it was. It's sort of, so all these things sort of upsets me still. We quote unquote, we say this famous word, never again. After the Holocaust that was introduced, which is, we all believe in that. And Holocaust was so bad. But did we learn anything? And it seems like never again means that not a Holocaust against the Jewish people only. No, what about us? What about the Hindus getting killed? What about the Muslims? What about the Buddhists getting, Bengalis, whatever. Not just religion, human being. That's why I say that, from my learning, I'm now 72, I says, yeah. I mean, it seems that we shall never learn. Want to believe in that we shall overcome.
But
The nature will. That's why being here in exile in the Himalayas, I believe that the nature will overcome, not human being.
so where were you? I mean, on the 25th of March 1971 in Dhaka or Chittagong, sir?
Dhaka. No, we had moved into Dhaka and we lived in Dhaka all through, you see. And Chittagong is my home,
So you must have
our village and everything there. My grandfather, parents were living, my chachas, they all are there. But we settled in Dhaka. And those days, every day I used to go to the protest march and everything. In fact, on 25th, all day I was out because there were a lot of things happening and excitements. And I come home late night, I think around 7 or 7:30. And once I got home, my mother was very angry, and my younger sister and my stepfather was in the house. It was in Nakalpara. And they said, where were you? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I was in meetings. I went to this meeting. She said, okay, just get in the car. We are getting out of here. I said, what do you mean? He said, no, something is going to be happening. There were already, rumor mill was working. And we left in a hurry. And by 9:30 we were leaving, and as we were going from Nakalpara to Purana Palton, not Purana, Poribag, one of my uncle's house, because Nakalpara is within the cantonment area, so they figured out this was not going to be safe. I think my parents were well connected with the journalist and all this, that good friends in right places, and we went to this house. And I was so tired, I fell asleep. And then suddenly, my cousin woke me up, and I got up and I hear all these noises. And I jumped up, and my cousin pulled me down. He says, shouted at me and says, put your head down. And then I went back to the window and I saw all this fire. It was right behind the Intercontinental Hotel, behind Sakura, it's still there. And there was a newspaper called People's or something, and that place was burning, and it was right about 2 blocks away from the house we were. We watched all night, and then at night we heard these trucks coming, and they were shouting to put the flags down and this, that. So someone climbed up to the rooftop, and he brought it down, and we were very fortunate.
Flag that was there, right?
Yeah, of course, the black flag and the Bangladeshi flag that was put up on, right away from the beginning when Bangabandhu said every house will have a Bangladeshi flag. I think 3rd March is when the flag was first raised by this, I forget his name. I met this gentleman who made the original flag. I still love the flag. I'll show you. See?
This was the first
No matter where.
flag, right?
I carry this with me, my friend, no matter where. This is my flag.
Right.
I fought with this. I fought for this.
This was the first flag.
This is my flag.
Shiv Narayan Das.
Huh? Sheep, oh yeah, sheep.
Narayan
All right.
Das,
Oh, fantastic guy. I met him, we're friends. He's the one who did it. And I don't know, I don't know why they changed it, but whatever it is, but to me, this is the flag.
Okay. So
And,
Searchlight, when did you? What was your?
Okay, from that, we couldn't go back to our house. That night, our house was taken over by the Pakistanis. They ransacked. So, that's the thing. On the 25th of March, I lost my home. And even today, I don't have a home. Because after that taught me that, hey, we come empty, we shall leave empty. So, I don't believe in property.
Okay. Right.
So where I am, what I'm doing here, it's on a lease property. The day the lease ends, I start walking. I either go up the mountains higher, or go down to the Delta. Who knows?
Who knows? Right. That's
Learning from 71, my friend.
right. That's actually very philosophical, I guess. This entire.
Well, I didn't want to be profound or philosophical. That's real. That's learning. That's what war teaches you. War can make you bad man. War can make you good man. War can make you nothing. I think war just taught me that, hey, you'll be nothing.
Right. So I was also wondering. So you lost your home the 25th of March. Then after that, how did you get to the border? Because you wanted to fight, right?
Okay,
With
yeah.
Pakistani.
What had happened is, that we have been hearing about news of this, that, then the Chadinota Ghoshona. I had, because after the lost the home, we had to go to a village. We stayed in the village and whatnot. So then we heard all these people are going across to join Mukti Bahini. So me and this friend of mine, with whose house I was staying during this early March, April, and we were planning about running away to the border. And that friend of mine
You were still in Dhaka.
from Dhaka, from this little village outside Dhaka. I mean, still in Dhaka. No, I'm a Dhaka-based guy, totally, metro. And this guy and me, we had all planned up and everything, and we knew because people were going to India through that thing, and in fact one of this guy who were guiding those people, we knew him because he was the house where we were staying, he was part of that family. And the two of us, me and Bombol, said, hey, this is a great opportunity, let us go, because we both want to fight. And we were all set and everything, but somehow Bombol's father came to know about it, and he was very upset, and he had us brought back to Dhaka, gave us a good thrashing, and said, nothing doing, boys, and then explained to me that, Bombol was no way, he had other things to do. He was not ready, and he said, and you also don't know where you want to go. So then I realized that, okay, it won't work with Bombol. So then I started talking with. You couldn't very openly talk about these things, so you heard, seen things, and then another friend of mine, Arif, and he was very keen. His father had already gone, so we were both set. And then his mother helped us. Took us all the way to the border area, and then I think around July, me and I have to see my notes. Me and we went up to a place called Kabila Bazaar and all that thing, Kumilla district, and the two of us, me, Arif, and two of his uncle, were dropped off in this village by his mother. She is a smart woman, which she looks more like a Pakistani with the short hairs and sleeveless. I mean, those days, a lot of us, Bangladesh was a very different, the modern woman, the Bengali woman, were very forward and upright, not what you see now, not hijabi and burqa thing. You see, that certainly came from nowhere, from where I still don't know. But anyway, she managed to drop us there. And then we found somebody who said, we were very naive again, very stupid, because that night,
Young guys, very young boys, I would say.
yeah, amazing thing is that when we were in that village and everything, so then one guy said, okay, we followed this chap who was going to take us, and we went to the one farmer's house. We were spending this. Suddenly we hear voices, and we see this guy with an AK-47 and hanging. I said, whoa, what is going on? And then he woke up, and a friend of mine, Arif, recognized him, and he called out his name, and then his name is Bhashan. He happens to be the son of a very famous professor who was martyred on the 14th December Mukti Joddha,
Mukti
his son
Joddha.
Bhash, he was one of the commander, and he heard that these people had come, and he woke us up, and he says, "You idiots! Do you know that everybody knows, and the Razakas are aware of your presence, and they're just going to come." Luckily, I was passing through this village and heard this situation. So if you and he sort of interrogated, and he knew about us. So he said, "Okay, just let's get out of here." He took us to another village and to a safe house, and he gave one of his. And we stayed there. And the early morning, he gave one of his troop who were returning to Dhaka. He said, "Okay, they will take you back to Malaghor." And
Milagro.
you know,
Okay.
24 miles of walk, we were there, reached that. I think it was on July 1st or 2nd, and we were exhausted. And that was
Tripura.
not, I wasn't there, but that was the first stop. But Malaga was, by then it was packed up and everything. And they said that no, you guys have to move on. You spend the thing, have your meal. And then we came to Agartala, where we had to register ourselves. And that's when the realization came for me that I couldn't be in the guerrilla thing, because when I entered the camp, me and Arif, suddenly I got grabbed and was being dragged to be finito. And suddenly I hear this voice, a woman's voice, saying, "Akhtar na?" Akhtar is my another name. And I said, "Oh, whoa, God is calling me." And I turned, and there she was, Lulu Khala. She is Sultana Kamal. Her mother I call Nani, Sufia Kamal's daughter. She was serving as a doctor in one of those, Captain Akhtar's men. Can you imagine? And then, they say, "Listen, Akku, with your look, and you can't even talk proper Bangla, you're just gonna get into this thing." And many of them, same side can happen. And so boom. So they said, the only way, either, go off to Kolkata, be in a safe thing, and, try to get into the regular forces or something, and do other way. This, you cannot roam around in the villages.
Okay.
And then in July, I went to Boira camp for training, 7 days training under Nurul Huda.
No,
Great.
You went to Boira camp at July, in the month of July, 71.
No, I went first there once I got caught in Agartala, they said, somehow you managed to go off to Kolkata. Luckily, me and my friend, we had enough money to get out, after there, because we hung around in Agartala. There's nothing, we didn't have money, and it was ending. So before we ended, enough money to go to Kolkata, and then they said, you can be, even in the refugee camp or somewhere you will find place. So, so we came there, and after waiting for 2 months, we managed to go to Sector 8's training camp in Boira, run by, it was a camp of Sub-Sector Commander Najmul Huda, Bir Pratik,
Captain Najmul.
and who was killed,
75.
August, 75, August 15, or something
So-
around that.
Okay, so you were trained in Boira camp, and then you...
Yeah, Boira camp. We got trained by Boira camp. I've got some real interesting story of the same side things, Sorry, I'll have to bore you with this. And then from Boira camp, the 4 of us were returning, after 7 days training, the whole thing, learning then I said, okay, now, when we first entered, our captain, Huda sir, said that, "Listen, from today, I will not recognize you guys. You guys are sepoys. You will be trained there. On the last day of when it ends, your training ends, they will let me know, and that is the day you will be able to enter my camp, and we'll have dinner together. Until then, no seeing me, no asking for me." We said, okay. That's when I knew that, okay, this is the way it is, And that's when I said, all right, I'm in the military. So we were in the camp, we were like nobody. I was forget your past, forget your, future. Got the whole training and everything. 7 days later, he gave us
7 days of training total.
7 days.
7 days.
7 days, and then go and 2 days we could shoot and things like that, because it was on the border area. It's inside Bangladesh. So we went and we shot at the Paki sides, because the Pakis were on the other side, their camp. So they let us do the training and testing out our LMGs and all the other guns to fire.
Okay.
So basically we trained on LMG dismantling and the stain guns and grenade throwing and what else? Yeah, crawling and the whole bit. And 7 days, they said, okay, it's all right, we're going back. So we had to come back to Kolkata and said that, we will need you people to march in. And basically, I call ourselves, cannon foders. So
Right.
he said, okay, we'll be the cannon foders. He said, yes. So it's fine, no problem. So he said, so go back to Kolkata, get yourself, whatever you guys can do, and then we'll call. And we came back, but on the way, there's this railway station that takes us from Boira. Boira is the Indian side, or
Boira is the Indian side, and from there is the Gede railway station that takes you.
I know, but the Bangladesh camp was in has another name. Just across the border.
Okay.
It's this old age gets me. The memories are.
Memory. Yeah.
Anyway, so from there in the Boira, we got up on the railway on the train, and naturally there were a lot of people, and we were told to just keep shut, don't talk, and don't tell where you're coming from, nothing. I said, yeah. So the guys, local people, asked two of our friends, because I'm not going to be talking. So they were talking, and they didn't want to talk. They just were sort of, and the locals got upset, and suddenly we are surrounded and dragged out of the train and taken in. Oh my God, I said, what the hell? And then the police, the OC, luckily one of our friends was the son of a member of parliament, Kumar Murshid. Kumar's mother was, Jahanara Murshid. She, he said, hey, I'm this, blah, blah. So the local MP of Army League, whoever was there, was called. Poor guy came. And then the police and all said, okay, now you see, we have to put you in the night train with when there's a military, police convoys, there's CRPs with the guns, chained up to their waist. Anyway, so we were put on that train, and then midnight train, it's all lights out because this was border area, there's a curfew. And suddenly this bugger comes and flashes a light on my face and says, you're a Paki. And I said, no, Paki, not Paki, you're Afghani. Of all the things, Afghani. I looked at him, I said, what? I said, no, and he has his bayonet on, and that he will charge me. And he was going to drag me out, and then my three other friends were trying to say something. Then he made them said that you guys will be also bloody hell taken in. And it was going on, and luckily in the next compartment they were having fun with someone, and they called, it was his turn, so he just left me. And God save, and after that, oh man, I was stuck. I would rather be on the streets of Kolkata, without eating food, beg, and I'd survived. And then at last in November, Lieutenant Ahsanullah came to Kolkata. They had a meeting, and we knew him, and he said, listen, I need you guys have got training, I need you guys to march into the front. Are you ready? Definitely, sir. I'd rather die the bullet of the bloody Pakistanis than, die without fighting. And I was ready, and that's it. And then, that whole rugraf going through the thing, and going into Satkira. I think we entered Satkira 7th of December, and so we could feel the glory, and that's where all the action was. And it was fun meeting, with this, being with the militaries from the Indian forces, and they were all young people, and they could talk to us, that we could relate to them. It was, I still remember there was a Captain Gross who was with us in one of these camps. We would go recce, we would be going, when the curfew starts, we would march around the village, few kilometers, 4 or 5 kilometers every evening to make sure everything is under control. And the battles and fights. And
How did Second Lieutenant Asanullah find you? Like, he was trained in Murti, that's what
yeah,
I
he was there. He was in the camp because you see they were having one of these. There is Kolkata was where the headquarter is of the Mukti. I mean our jet,
Provisional
the chief was there, and so operational meeting. I guess these guys had come for the sector command meetings. So he had come with his Jalil sir, Major Jalil, and so somehow
This was for Sector 9.
yeah, for Sector 9.
Okay. Major Julian,
So,
yeah.
and that's yeah.
how they found you.
Yeah, and I was already trained and everything, so I was ready to be a cannon fodder, and and I was ready totally, full-fledged.
Okay.
So, and then I went off, and me and Arif, and we went through that whole and
So,
Kaliganj and everything,
okay.
and some great people, and me and Arif were the only outsiders, and like that's when that's when I told Arif that Arif, I've been bothered all this time for not knowing proper Bangla, being a Chadgaya, but look at these guys. Do you even understand them? The Barishai lads talking to themselves, He says, no, Akku, you're right. I said, listen, this is what the big thing about Bangladesh is, our diversity. Our religions are different, we are different people, we talk different languages. Chadgaya has their own accent, the Siletis have their own, dialogue. Noakhallas, Barisal, whatever you say, each has their own uniqueness. You cannot mingle them.
I am pure Calcasian because I am born and brought up.
Yeah,
in
you guys are totally different.
Yeah.
Oh man.
My father is from Borishal, so when I was a kid, it was a bit difficult to understand what he was talking about. And he was in your sector as a freedom fighter, so when he used to talk, when he used to come to Calcutta, I could barely understand at times what he was talking about. Another thing, sir.
You can talk properly.
Yeah. So another thing, sir, any action that you might have faced on the front while fighting Pakistanis and Razakars that you might remember?
Well, Razakar was a constant nuisance, so I don't consider that very importantly. But the frontal thing, like when we were going into the Satkira, in the middle of the night, and it is sort of, here we are crossing a river. I mean, I just wish I remembers those things, but I don't want to. That's why I sort of erase, because I still get my nightmares. And so so the whole idea about talking to you today, and that you had decided to talk, it takes me a lot of preparation. And this sort of thing stays with me, and it hurts me and pains. And every day without even talking and discussing, these things keeps coming back in this nightmares every night, So that is what, so that is one of the more reasons that I've tried to run away from everything, and you don't want to write anything about, because there are a lot of books and what's the use. But anyway, when we were, one of the things that I remember most is it was December, and somehow it felt very cold, and we weren't properly outfitted because we didn't have, we were only in one cloth situation thing, and we were trying to cross this river, and I didn't know how to swim properly, and we had all this ammunition, the gun, and knapsack. It was a small thing, and my bedroll, and we were waiting on the riverside, and we were to cross that. Either you had a choice, swim across in the cold, or there was a boat that would be going back and forth. I think we were about.
It's very cold in Bangladesh, especially 52 years ago. It must have been really cold.
Yeah, and Khulna and that area is very Satkhira side. Somehow it's very cold, and it was December, early December, and imagine, and we were waiting, and then suddenly we see the
Firing.
artillery is going from our side, from the Indians, and then the other sides, and that's we sort of froze, because when we go across we don't see anything. You really don't know who is what. And so luckily one boatload had already gone the other side, so they were stationed and they signaled for us to go across, and we went across, and then we were sort of like chasing the Pakistanis, all the way to Satkhira. And as we move forward, and on the 7th, when we entered the 7th morning, and the Pakistanis were running off, and one of the bridges, right, which is Dolatia Road to, I guess, Khulna, and that road we were.
Which road
and
again?
I have
No
to
problem, sir.
from. I'll send you the note of mine where that exactly. I have the areas written down. It's close to Daulatpur.
Daulatpur. Okay.
Yeah, and we were camped in a place called Banarpota.
Manarpota. Okay, got it.
Okay, you're getting that area, all right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and he was Captain Ghosh, you see,
Captain Ghosh, okay, from the Indian Army.
who was from the Indian side, and then the tanks and all this thing rolling on. One of the big tank battles happened from that, in the later days. And in fact, I had the opportunity to meet them, and we were gonna, we were following them. Then but the tragic part, I can still remember that when we were the daytime, I met this whole troop that was coming back, and young people, 17, 18-year-old kids, soldiers, with hands hanging down, because in the frontal attacks that the battles, and they were so, they looked like us, and the face, you could feel the pain, but no one is showing that, and so we sort of looked at each other eyes to eyes, and they're sort of telling us, all right guys, it's your turn now, I can't go on. So sort of like giving us each other a thing that, hey, no, we fight on till the end. And that's the thing. At one point we heard that the US 7th Fleet is coming. Believe me, none of us chickened out, because we already knew that Pakistanis are going to attack, but they were not giving up in Khulna, and we didn't loosen our heart. We were not disheartened. We said, oh, all right, yes, we said that, hell, we will fight on. We will fight on, my friend. We did. We said, okay. That's when we reminded each other, so that the Vietnamese defeated this 7th Fleet buggers, so we can too.
So,
And that's
so you fought until Khulna fell.
Yeah. Yep. And Khulna fell. We stayed, And then, we hung around there for because, you had to do patrolling, and there was still a lot of Razakars. It was not a fun place to be. And then then around after 1 week, we asked by then Hassanullah had gone off to another, operation. And so we asked Captain Huda if whenever we can be released. So we have to go back. If we can not have to, we would like to go back to Dhaka. I mean, that was home is. And then, on 25th, I think there were some Bengali engineers who were working in that city from before.
Right, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
25th to 26th, around that time, he said, okay, we got released. We got a letter. We surrendered our guns and everything, and we got a letter that we are released, because I just wanted that piece of paper, because again, I'm paranoid totally, about so I mean, independence or no independence, I'm not independent, I fought for the land, but it's not my land anyway. So, and then this engineers were coming to Dhaka, and they were also excited to have us, because it's a safe journey for them. They can always say, hey, we've got Muktis with us. But then there was all the bridges and things were shut down. We couldn't proceed. They dumped their car, and we got up on a truck and we came all the way. And the best part is, once we landed, we got off the truck in Asad Gate in Mirpur, and then we realized. Then I asked Arif, where are you going? He says. He asked me, where are you going? I says, I don't know, I don't have a home, because my family has already left. They've gone to Switzerland. I says, I don't have a home. And he says, I don't have a home too, because his parents were already in Kolkata, gone off to Kolkata. And then we said, oh, wow, isn't that awesome? That is Shadinata for me, my buddy.
So your house, I mean, it was taken off by the Pakistanis.
They became a camp for the Pakistanis and all that. Because it's an empty hostel, that's where, empty hostel is very famous, the torture center. It was used by the Pakistanis. A lot of our Mukti Joddhas were taken in and tortured and killed, and so Nakhalpara is right behind that.
So what?
And I mean,
what happened to your house, sir? I mean, after you went,
they just took over. I mean, they took over. I mean, I lost everything. So that's why this. I mean, after that, I have nothing. Whenever I ride that, when I leave from one place to another, I just dump everything. Throw everything away, because everything, as a childhood you collect. I had my stamp collections, my books, and this, that, life must go on. And that's, after that I became a hippie, and then I became a Buddhist, because that's the path, the salvation for me. Nobody looks after you, man. You have to look after yourself. That's what I learned. I mean, you're calling me a Mukti Joddha, but you cannot prove I'm a Mukti Joddha. I do not have a certificate.
I think a lot of freedom fighters in
So someone, I know, there are many. Oh, there are many.
And there are a lot of fake freedom fighters in Bangladesh.
Oh, totally. That's why you see your program, if you show it to anybody, you might say, oh, he's a Bhua Mukti Joddha. Yeah. So we do not fight for awards, rewards, or certificates. None of us, when we join, we don't even have our name listed. We had to change our names. So how do you define, that, you have to go inside me. You have to ask my conscience. What I did, what I did not. So these writing books, you see, so many books have been written, but they'll all vanish. How many people read?
You being a freedom fighter, I learnt it from an Indian Army officer. You know him. He's Captain Ashok Nath.
Oh,
You know him, right?
Ashok Nath. Whoa, he told you when I was
from him.
No kidding.
And he told me, being an Indian Army officer, he told me that you should contact Mr. Akku Chowdhury. He's a freedom fighter. And I think it was 3 years ago that I learned of you that you were a freedom fighter. Before that, I thought
That I'm not a bua.
before that I thought you were an artist, actually.
No, you see, I'm an art lover. I'm not an artist. I had galleries. I'm an art lover. I love anything that's beautiful. You see, so I love nature. I love beautiful human beings. That's what about it. And so that's why even my family was surprised. How the hell and why did you decide to go and fight and become a brutal person?
So your family, when they moved out from that home in Dhaka, when did they plan to go to Switzerland? And
In March, April, May. In around April, because everybody either they have to get out of the country. And my mother being with the China, with the Robindra Songit, she was well known, and my stepfather was well known for his involvement helping the Bengalis, I guess. And so it's everything. So they had the way, they had the connections. So they got their passport, they got my passport, my tickets, my visa, tickets, everything. Then when my mother said, in a few days, within a week, we are off to Switzerland. So get yourself ready. I looked at her, I said, Switzerland, why? She says, this is not safe. I said, but I have other plans, and I said that I want to go fight. I want to stay back and I want to fight when I get a chance. And you know what my mother said? She looked at me and she said, okay, but because she knew that I don't like to study, I won't be going to school and college, so she thought this is a good excuse for him to, bunk out. I said, then she said, when you come back from the war, you go back to school. That's it. That's your mom. That's what mothers are.
I've heard tons of freedom fighters. They said that their mothers cried. They didn't want them.
Oh yeah, of course.
And your case is different completely.
Yeah. No. My mom is, she's a chatgaya, tough one.
Right.
She looked straight at me. She was sort of, okay, proud. Anyway, she has 2 other sons and 2 daughters, so one can be sacrificed, no problem.
So after the war, when you came back to Dhaka, you saw your house being ransacked completely. After that, how was life in Bangladesh?
No, you see, that is one part. That's totally another part. Sort of like as it is, I was sort of, as I told you, I felt that this land was not my land because of the attitude of the people, because everyone looked at me suspiciously, and that continued after Sadhinata. And as it is, being after a war, any soldier cannot be normal, and you are well studied about the liberation war. You know how many people truly fought, the Bangladeshis youth. So the percentage is so small. So we were sort of isolated. So it's sort of, I would be very frank and straightforward. I was scared. So I just stayed to myself. And that's when my erase of 1971 came into effect. And
you were scared because of how the government saw the freedom fighters.
No, nothing of the government. It's the people. I have no connection with the government because they don't. As a citizen, ordinary citizen, we don't deal with government. We give too much importance to the government, or we always our weaknesses we blame it on the government. Well, government has its own agenda, has its own work. Unless I go and try to poke them, hey,
Okay.
listen, I live in this another country. There's a government here. They're not bothering me. I'm leading my own life.
Right.
When I was in America, I had my own life. Only thing is that when we go back to our own country, we start thinking, hey, it's the people, it's our neighbors, that's our family, that's our surrounding. That creates the issue.
Right.
Even today in Bangladesh, eating these issues on our own self.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why. When I look back to Bangladesh in the 60s and I see where I am, I'm living in Nepal, and I see the unity in the diversity and the beauty of acceptance of everyone. And that's how we were in Bangladesh, my friend. We Bengalis were that. But now, whoa.
Yeah.
That's silly things. Look at the recent fight they're doing. Transgender. The meaning of transgender. And they're so confused. So, what we are, even the 71 is nothing to them. They don't even want to know.
Yeah.
So sometimes it seems that we're a bunch of we're crazy buggers who went off to fight. They make us feel like that.
Still, even after the war, I think even 25 years later, you got involved in, finding the human remains in mass graves all over Bangladesh. What motivated you
You
for
see,
that, sir?
no, my friend, when I came back from America, you see, where, they're in America, they're, saying about the revolution, 1776 revolution. And what was 1971? So much more major. And those guys with 1776, they were doing the 200 bicentennial days, that whatnot. And then, then I used to talk to them about our Bangladesh, and they only thing they knew about Bangladesh, he said, oh, Bangladesh, that concert for Bangladesh.
There's that one concert. That's
Concert. And that's all they knew, that they thought it was the name. Oh, is that a country? They didn't even know what had happened. See, they knew a concert happened. That lot of fun, lot of good singers and singing. But why? Where? No.
the Beatles.
And so
was
when
there,
I
guess, and Joan was Joan Boys, I guess. I can't.
Joan Baez sang. You see, this is another thing. Joan Baez sang that song in July before the concert. She was the first one, and there was another German singer sang for us.
Okay, and then the
Yeah.
concert happened. I think.
Then in August, Ravi Shankar told George Harrison, and he was, Guru. So they did the concert, and Bob Dylan and all these people were there. All the great singers were there. So anyway, when I came back to Bangladesh, as I told you, nobody's talking about this, I said, freaked me out. That, that Bangladesh, the war, everything is sort of erased, and that the flag that is missing. And then, slowly I got involved in, different things through my own initiative. And then the Shohid Janane Jahanara Imam in the 90s started that movement to try the war criminal. And that was the first thing. She woke us all up that, hey, get your act together. Hats off to Shohid Janani.
She didn't
And
really want
incidentally,
to.
her son,
Her son was killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I know, and he was in the same school as Adamji. He was my senior. That's how I knew him.
Shafi Imam Rumi. Yeah.
Yeah, Rumi.
His brother is alive as of now. I know.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
He lives in
it's a really
America.
tough thing to start this movement to hang war criminals, especially the
Oh.
Pakistans. Yeah.
Yeah. And those, it was sort of like, it was like, we were doing a crime, it seemed, at that time. I think it was Khaleda Zia's
Khaleda
era.
Time, yeah.
Yeah.
BNP was in power.
Oh man, it was, anyway, that's when, this group of us, we were thinking that, hey, we got to do something more substantial. And then the Liberation War Museum came. And then when this, we built that museum in Shegun Bagicha, nice little, it was amazing. We collected all these artifacts and document. My basic idea was not to write the history, but collect and collate and display it so others can, disseminate the information when it was all hidden away and being erased and washed out. Even now, there's so much confusion.
There's so much confusion. But
And then about the genocide, wow, no, total denial. And then when in Mirpur, these kids were doing something, they were building a mosque, and they found these skulls and came to us, and I said, okay, for sure. I jumped in the occasion and started organizing how we can dig in our own amateurish way. And then, again, thanks to the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she was at that time Prime Minister with a very small minority, and she took the initiative to send the military, because without her, she was the defense minister in charge.
46th Brigade was with you, I guess.
Yes,
Bangladesh
yeah,
Army's 46th Brigade.
yeah. And they were, but it's an aid of civil, for civil aid, army can be used. So they came, they told me that, you should apply and this, that, and I met the chief, Mustafiz, sir, Biprotik, and then he said, you write a letter and blah, blah, and I did, and they were, we did too, that first was the Muslim Bazaar mosque, where we found that, and then we heard about this Jallad Khana, where it was basically a slaughterhouse, for Bengalis.
Both were in Mirpur.
Mirpur, yes.
Okay, in Dhaka.
One was in section 8, 11, another in section 10, yeah, something.
Okay. I've been to the Jollat Khana area, so.
Yeah, it's become a site of conscience. We wanted to do that in the mosque also, but how it is. So that's the sad part.
But
Still today.
You and Ghulam Morshed sir was there, I think.
Yeah, Ghulam, he's a local, young man who was started. I think they were called Sriti Ekattur, if I am correct. That's the organization of the young people who did that.
Right. Even after the war, more than 20 plus years after the war, you took part in, at least making people remember that a genocide happened. That too, even in places in the heart of Dhaka. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, I went to all the different places. I kept going there, talking with the people, trying to record and, to show that those things later, because I'm always a positive person. I know that someday, a leader like Sheikh Hasina will come to power, who will understand and try to do something to preserve them and tell the stories. Because history is never written now, when it happens. It will, it will be 100 years, 200 years later, they will talk about, about our, like even talking to you now, I was kind of, I said, what's the use? Because it's sort of really, it's always like that to me. Because, and then my wife said, give him some time, because at least, let it be in record. I said, yeah, there have been so many things in records, so many things in books. It gets washed out. Who cares?
That, sir, even I get to hear the same thing from my own home. What's the use of recording a history that happened 52 years ago? Even I get that. Yeah.
I know, yeah, but we just have to keep it, sir, so that someday someone will come out with that. Look at the history of America, the Native Americans. We thought it would be all washed away, but it's coming out, the truth cannot be buried forever. And when I was doing the digging in Jallad Khana and the mosque, and that's, you see, that sort of literally told me, you see, when I'm digging out the skulls and all. So, yeah. And I used to live alone in this apartment in DOHS, and at night, would you believe, I felt that, the spirits were talking to me, which I still do, which that's another thing. But yeah, I mean, sort of telling me, abusing me that what the hell were you doing all this thing? Why are you doing this now? Why are you bugging us?
I mean, that's really deep.
It is, hey, it is deep. It is deep. You see, you see what you see in our face. Yes, I go around, people think I'm the jolly, lucky guy. Oh man, he's got everything in life. Happiest man in the world. But deep down, what's that? No one will know, and I don't want to tell. What's the use?
No, it feels like I am sort of like lucky to get all of these things out from you, sir. I mean,
No, thank
I
you.
guess.
Thank you being after me, and it's great to talk to you. It's always it was wonderful to have met you last time in Dhaka when we were there, and it was fun. And
It was fun.
I'm sure we shall
We will meet
our
again,
paths
of
will
course.
come across again.
We will meet again. And so one more thing, sir. I mean, I wanted to ask you. Um, First of all, like, I mean, you worked regarding the liberation war. I mean, you fought as a freedom fighter, then you worked for finding these human remains in the heart of Dhaka. After that, you left for Nepal. I mean, completely, what I can say, moved away from your life as I mean, as a Bangladeshi, completely, I guess, gave up that. So,
Okay, my friend, thank you for asking me this. But you see, this sort of back after the war, as I told you, after all this trauma and everything, then going off to America, that's a commitment. And then I couldn't really. I mean, I hope my mother will forgive me because I never believed in the mainstream, education system of that certificate. I still don't have a certificate, and I don't care. And
so
the thing
wonderful.
is that I and my, what, in those days in the 80s, one of the books I love to read books. One of the books I read was by this economist called Schumacher, a German economist, Schumacher, and he was he's in Oxford, and he wrote this book called Small is Beautiful. It's an alternative way of lifestyle from the materialistic lifestyle he wrote in the 50s, getting away from this, the fossil fuel and everything, against the coals and all that. So, and that sort of hit me. And I want to find a space, a community, evolve on local, on that community, and we grow together, build that community. And that was then, you see, but I couldn't do it. Then, through the being a hippie and everything, that sort of felt suited. But then the real world is different. I had to do my corporate thing, and I had to wait 30 years. And when I was 65, I said, and Bangladesh was becoming quite impossible. And my wife was pretty hesitant because it's a drastic move. And I told her straight that, listen, as a Hindu, believe me, Bangladesh is not going to be a piece of cake. And me being what I am, a freedom fighter, also is not going to be a piece of cake. So either we run off to some rural areas in Bangladesh, which also is going to be impossible, or if you're ready, follow me to the mountains.
Right.
And she agreed. She's a brave woman. I salute her. And she's never done this. I at least been in boot camps. She's used to going to the beauty parlor at least once a week and doing this, buying clothes. Here, she hasn't had a new dress or new clothes for almost 2 years. Yeah, doesn't bother. We're happy. Small is beautiful. Less is more.
Lessons. I mean,
Definitely.
I remember seeing a very different person. I mean, in the picture with Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora. You were beside him.
Oh,
I mean, completely
great man.
different person.
He was a great, I mean, when we invited him to the Liberation War Museum, and I was the one who was constantly, because that's what I promised his daughter, because he was not so well, because, it's aged and he needed medicine and everything. I promised her that timing, that, okay, from this time, by this time he has to be put in bed and blah 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 and medicine. I said, yes ma'am, I will take. And I did. From the moment he arrived, for the 4 or 5 days or 6 days he stayed, I was with him constantly. And then at the end, he said, Akku, you are one of the best aid I've had. I wish I had you in 1971. And I said, whoa, I mean, that's an award, that's a reward, that's the biggest thing I could ever have.
With General Arora, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he even came to my house, because we were going from one place to another. Yeah.
It must have been such an honor. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I had to borrow, I didn't have a car, so I had to ask one of my friends to, borrow his car. And when we were going to Savar, the car's, tire burst, and it was sad that, we didn't get the proper, that you would expect. But, hey, that's a sad thing, our history.
Happens. Yeah.
It happens, yep.
Yeah.
Well, no. So that was a great honor for me, and I'm glad I could do that bring him back to Bangladesh, before he left the earth.
Both of you did your part in the war, of course, and I mean, as an Indian.
No, and the general and the sepoy.
And for that, as an Indian with a Bangladeshi father, I personally am very thankful to you, both of you.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
really
you.
honored, actually.
Thank you, and thank you for, doing what you're doing, writing our history, keeping these things in track. I mean, I was very impressed, saw you in your Facebook, and from then on I've been following. I said, who the hell is this guy, I said, okay. Tolerated him for some time, but then I said, okay, no, he's all right. He's good. Thank you. And salute to you,
much,
sir.
sir. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really honored to have you here in this program. And
Yeah.
we'll be meeting again for sure. And it will be really nice talking to you again, sir.
Thank you, and Joy Ekattur, Joy Bangla, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir.